But I want to get into where you see Gonzaga stacks up against the other good teams on the West Coast. You call a ton of Pac-12 games for ESPN as well as Pac-12 Network. I'm sure you've seen Arizona, UCLA, and USC in person this year. When you look at those three teams, who I think are all very good, where do they fall in comparison to Gonzaga roster-wise in your estimation?
Right now, I give the edge to Gonzaga over those other three. And the polls agree with us because they're ranked number one in the country right now. Slim margin over Auburn, but they are. And that's the great thing about college basketball is we'll see who the best team is once we get to March, or at least who's playing the best at that particular time. And that's what every coach is striving for. The Pac-12 teams are really, really good, those three. And I know SC's hit a little bit of a bump in the road here the last couple of games, and Oregon maybe is finding their stride and turning into the team that a lot of people thought they were going to be before the season after they really got off to a rough start. But I felt that UCLA and Arizona were the top two teams with SC right there in the Pac-12. It's funny because UCLA went on this pause, right? It's almost like people forgot about them for a little while because they hadn't played in so long. And we're going to get a taste of it next week when they square off against Arizona, and we'll see, for a game that was postponed from late in December, which unfortunately for me, Dan, I was going to call the first one. And now schedule works out. I don't get it when they reschedule. So little poor me. But the difference that I see with those two teams is defensively, I think Arizona's a little bit better than UCLA is. And I think UCLA is a pretty good defensive team. And certainly Mick Cronin was very frustrated after that overtime loss to Oregon. And what did he call it? Arrogant. There was some term that I'd never heard used, but it was kind of fitting because he was really frustrated with the way they didn't guard against Oregon. Mm-hmm. And maybe part of it is Tommy Lloyd stepped into a great situation, right? He had a full cabinet of talent. And also with the mindset that Sean Miller had for those players, for even the European players who don't necessarily think defense first, right? It's all about offensive creativity and skills, which they've got. But Azuolas Tubelis had to come in, Ben Mathurin, and it was about defense always in a lot of structure in Sean Miller's program, where Tommy's very different in the way he runs things, a lot more freedom, a lot more creativity with the offensive side of things. And both of them were extremely successful in what they do, right? Sean had a great run in Arizona, and Tommy's just beginning what appears to be a great run. And we're seeing the mesh of those two styles. There's some concerns. Kirk Creasy didn't play the other day, but they still handled Utah, had to pull away in the last 10 minutes. Not sure what's happening with the Kim Akins situation. That hurts Arizona's depth. But if I had to give an edge right now, I give it to Arizona slightly over UCLA.
A lot of people that listen to this obviously know the name Tommy Lloyd very well. And you touched on Tommy. He's a longtime assistant at Gonzaga. Are there any core attributes of the Arizona program this year that you see that you say, wow, that's straight from Gonzaga? Like, is it a complete replication of what Gonzaga does, or has Tommy added his own wrinkles to Arizona?
I can't say it's a complete replication because Tommy's got to be his own guy, right? Look, for 20 years, he's sitting next to Mark Few, and he's absorbing as much as possible. But along the way, look, Tommy's his own bright basketball mind, that he's got his own visions, but it's Mark's program. And I'm sure Tommy, over the years, making notes for that occasion, he was going to get his own program at some point. It was just a matter of when. And he was ready for that opportunity when Arizona called, and now he's running with it. They're 14-1 and top number 3 in the country. And the similarities I see on the offensive end with the joy that they play with, the sharing of the basketball, the tempo, the flow. That's where I see the most similarities, Dan, between the Gonzaga teams and now Tommy's Arizona program. And Tommy's got a lot of his own personality to the program also, where there's some similarities with him and Mark, but they're different. And that's, I think, what made them so successful, that Mark could ask Tommy some questions, get a real answer instead of just, yes, coach. Yeah. Like Tommy had his own, hey, look, we're not doing this right. We need to do this way. And there was that push and pull between the two, but they managed to coexist and work together brilliantly for 20 years. But now it's Tommy's program, and he's got a good staff with Jack Murphy and those guys down there at Arizona. And I think that there are a lot of similarities, but for me, it's more on the offensive end. That's the real area of similarity I see between the two programs.